I'm worried about the Sakamoto Days anime. Let me explain. The Sakamoto Days anime is supposed to release in January of 2025, and while a specific day hasn't been disclosed as of yet, we have about 2.5 months from the time of me writing this video until the anime comes out. The anime was originally announced in May with a trailer to go along with it, and since then we have seen a grand total of, 3 new scenes. Netflix recently had their Geeked Week event to showcase a bunch of the new shows and seasons they have coming up, with Sakamoto Days included on that list, but the trailer they showed was literally the exact same as the original announcement trailer, just with less scenes and less narration. There have been a few short character introductions released too, just giving viewers some quick clips of characters like Shin, Lu, Hana, Aoi, and Heisuke to get them acquainted with the supporting cast, but even these just reuse scenes that have already been present in the announcement trailer. The only new footage we see is a few clips of Heisuke, and if I'm being honest, these don't look particularly impressive. Now, I get that trailers for anything these days practically spoil the entire plot of a movie or show, revealing some important scenes to generate hype. So it makes sense that Sakamoto Days might want to play it a bit more secretly, only showing us stuff that probably happens within the first 3 episodes and only introducing us to characters that are shown within the first few chapters to avoid ruining the big reveals for The Order and Uzuki's gang. But at the same time, a trailer is meant to generate hype. While the initial announcement trailer was definitely hype since the manga community had been waiting for an anime adaptation for years, nearly 6 months have passed and we have hardly seen any new or particularly impressive scenes. At this point, I feel like the hype for the anime is actually dropping because we get so little in the way of trailers. Hey guys, Editing Scruple here. They did in fact just release a bunch of Order member POVs for Shishiba, Osaragi, and Nagumo. So I'll give a couple comments on them now. They sound pretty good. The voice actors and voice actress all sound very good, fit the characters very well. The character designs look pretty solid, very faithful to the manga. No big complaints there. The main thing I am still a little worried about is just the quality of the animation. Not particularly impressive with a lot of the scenes. I will comment on this later, but you can't ignore the fact that we haven't gotten new trailers because we just got 3 of them. And of course, I'll address all the comparisons to JJK. For starters, ever since JJK ended, people have been looking for a replacement, and a fair number of fans look at Sakamoto Days as the next big series in Weekly Shonen Jump. This puts a lot of pressure on the anime to do well, and naturally, people compare the few scenes of the Sakamoto Days anime to JJK's anime adaptation. So, I'll say this. JJK, whether it be Season 1 or Season 2, looks infinitely better than anything we've seen from the Sakamoto Days anime. This isn't to say that the Sakamoto Days anime looks horrible, just that JJK looks far better in nearly every aspect. And of course, this is perfectly fine. Not every anime needs to have JJK levels of animation for their seasons, and it's not realistic to expect that from every anime. JJK Season 2 looks incredible, but the amount of work poured in by the animators was insane, and several episodes weren't even completely finished or polished. I would rather the animators working on Sakamoto Days actually be able to see their families rather than sleep on their desks, even if it results in an anime that looks around average. With that being said, the comparisons to JJK, particularly in the trailers released for Season 2, do still have some merit, so let's talk about that. Like I said earlier, trailers spoil a lot of stuff, but they also do a really good job at generating hype by showing a bunch of the highlights of the series. Take a look at the trailers released for JJK Season 2, whether it be for Hidden Inventory or Shibuya. The trailers released for both of these arcs look incredible, with each one pretty much just being around 2 minutes of straight sakuga. The trailers still managed to preserve some of the hype for scenes later in the arc, like with the Shibuya trailer never showing anything of Sukuna vs Mahoraga or Yuji vs Mahito, but in general, the trailers are filled to the brim with incredibly animated scenes. Now, take a look at the Sakamoto Days promotional material we've gotten. It's literally the same scenes repeated over and over with very little in the way of what people would consider sakuga. I don't think it looks completely terrible, but there's definitely something missing from the anime in terms of the raw speed that characters have compared to the way Suzuki draws motion, which worries me since Sakamoto Days practically lives and dies of its action choreography. But the main point I'm making here is the fact that the trailers seem super reluctant to show us new scenes. It could very well be that they're trying to play everything close to the chest leading up to the actual release of the anime, but it could also easily be the fact that the rest of these scenes for the anime aren't polished or animated well enough to warrant being in a trailer, which would be really bad since we have just over 2 months till the anime releases. Another major point fans have brought up is the fact that Netflix is currently in possession of the anime, and Netflix doesn't exactly have the best track record when it comes to anime adaptations. JoJo's Part 6 had practically zero marketing, which stunted the popularity of what otherwise would have been a fairly solid season, and with the way the Sakamoto Days promotional material has been handled, I can't say that Netflix is doing a much better job. If we don't get a trailer that shows more than the same scenes we've gotten before, then the anime is probably going to miss out on a large portion of viewers it would have otherwise gotten with a better trailer, which really sucks considering Sakamoto Days' position in Weekly Shonen Jump as one of the biggest ongoing manga. The visuals too are something that I'm a little worried about for the anime. Like I said earlier, the anime doesn't have to have JJK Season 2 levels of animation every episode, and it would be unrealistic for someone to expect that. But I can say that from what we've seen, it looks kinda average. There isn't much speed and movement present in some of the scenes we've seen, especially with things like Lou and Heisuke's character introductions, and some of the shots look worryingly stiff. There's also the added pressure of actually using the animated medium to the fullest instead of just redrawing manga panels but with color, and so far, I can't say the anime has done a ton to really creatively innovate on what Suzuki has given us with the manga. I know these clips are way too short to be properly judged and we haven't seen what the rest of the episodes look like, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is the level of animation we get for most of the season, with a few truly impressive shots thrown in for the major fights. I am hopeful that the anime will innovate and add some extra scenes for fights though, especially with something like Sakamoto vs Kashima, which has a lot of potential for added scenes. I'm not familiar with the animation process, so I can't really comment on what makes good or bad animation, but from what I've heard, the director of the anime is really new and this is his first major project, which could be a little scary for some people. But I don't want to be all negative, so I'll point out a few strong points for the anime. For one, the character designs all look really solid. They're faithful to the manga while leveraging more of the freedom the animated medium gives them, and all of the casting choices for the voice actors so far have sounded really good. Along with this, the general art quality also looks pretty good. A lot of the slower paced scenes and still frames of characters look great, and this is pretty easily seen with the initial Prime Sakamoto clips we get at the beginning of the trailers. The anime so far has nailed the overall aesthetic of the manga, which is definitely a plus. And of the few action sequences we have seen, they also look pretty good. A couple of the action clips we've gotten have solid impact frames, a strong sense of speed and power, and look really well drawn with strong wind effects added for an extra punchy look. So overall, what am I trying to say? To sum it all up, I'm worried about the Sakamoto Days anime for a few key reasons. The trailers we've gotten haven't shown us any new scenes, which not only kills the hype, but could also indicate that the anime doesn't have any other trailer-worthy scenes ready, meaning everything else just looks unfinished or is straight up not animated well enough to go into the trailer. The scenes we have gotten also aren't insanely well animated either, with only a few short action sequences being real standouts, but it's too early to make such a sweeping argument for the entire anime, so at least on this point I'm still hopeful. All in all, I'd say I'm cautiously optimistic for the Sakamoto Days anime, but I am definitely still worried about the overall quality of the animation.